It's never been more clear for Mitch Marner and his future with the Leafs as during the locker clearout today, Marner himself, Craig Berube, and John Tavares all had very, very interesting comments as it relates to Mitch's future and what they had to say, especially Marner himself reveals a ton on his future status with the Leafs, and honestly, his status has never been more clear. The dichotomy between him and Tavares' responses, there was a lot we got to get into, all coming up in this episode of Hat Trick HQ. Quick reminder though, first of all, 90% of you still not subscribed to this channel. We have daily videos on all the latest, biggest stories around the NHL. Mark, let's just start with John Tavares, actually, because this is the landing point here for all of the stuff we're going to discuss for Mitch Marner. But Tavares, after we talked about this yesterday, how the Leafs reportedly have a number they will likely not go past for Tavares, he said, I had some positive conversations with Treliving and Berube today, and I'm very optimistic that it can work out where I'm back. Now, to start on this front, Mark, again, looking at the Leafs roster heading into next year, it doesn't look great. Where is it here? There it is. There's a lot of positions that you need to fill if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, and John Tavares is one of these guys that could fill the second center. Again, just on the front of what he is saying about his future with the Leafs, it certainly seems pretty clear. He wants to be here. He wants to stay. He's had those conversations. How did you take Tavares' comments, and do you think now there's a higher possibility than ever that he'll be back?
Yeah, that's the big thing. If we know the Leafs don't want to go past the number, and we see JT coming out and saying that he's very optimistic they can work it out, it seems like they're both sitting right in the middle ground where they can get this deal done to come back as maybe the second, the third line center, maybe a winger when he slows down. I do think, and I strongly do believe Tavares wants to be here. Yes, players want money. Yes, they want to do what they can, but this is his hometown team, the Pajama Boy. As much crap as he gets, a 30-goal scorer, someone that can still compete on the ice, I do think he'll return it to Toronto Maple Leaf. We're going to have to see what the cap hit is, see what the distance of this deal is. But Josh, I'm almost certain that we will see him back in a Leafs jersey next season.
Yeah, and he, again, like you said, he really wants to be there, and hey, maybe he will take that kind of discount. That second line center is something that's going to need to be filled. Now, there are some other UFAs out there, but for a guy that wants to be there, a guy that just scored 38 goals for you, it depends on the price. There's a lot of other teams that can make an offer, but sounds like he wants to stay. And when we go back to this quote, like, we heard him already say, I want to be here, I want to be a Leaf, and today he's like, I already talked with the coach and the GM, I'm optimistic. This it's a very stark contrast between this and Mitch Marner's talk. Now, look, we already were kind of saying like Marner might be on the way out. Look, he did say, I've loved my time here, loved being here. Taking a quote in the past tense and saying, oh, he's definitely gone. Maybe that's a bit forward, but there's some other stuff here that was also said about Mitch, right? Again, like looking at the guy, 102 points this year, around 100 points basically every single year, but the playoffs, he just doesn't show up. We don't need to go into this all the time, right? This is something we're always talking about. We'll get into the cap projection soon, but Marner adds, look, it's so fresh. It's tough to do anything right now. Future-wise, I was hoping to be playing hockey right now. I'll sit down with my wife and decide next steps in the coming weeks. And to me, this just paints a very clear picture, Mark. It's never been clearer with Mitch Marner, especially versus a guy like John Tavares. Even Auston Matthews coming out and the stuff he said, I love playing in Toronto, all this stuff. Mitch Marner loved my time here, loved being here, but, I got to sit down with my wife. It just doesn't sound like a guy that wants to be there. Maybe the team has made it seem like he's on the way out, and, I don't know if I want to take any shots on Marner right now, but to me, it's never been more clear that he's gone. He doesn't want to be in Toronto. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but honestly, I don't think I am.
No, I know. I think it's the same thing, Josh, where we see the past tense. I loved being here. I loved my time here. He's not saying I want to be here. This is my time that I want to stay. He's going into this offseason where the media is going to be very hard on him. And for some reason, yes, I do agree that a lot of the hate is deserved, as we've seen a guy who doesn't really show up for long stretches of his playoff career. I mean, in games 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, he doesn't really like to go out and put his heart on the ice, it seems like most games. But I mean, most of the Leafs players feel like that as well. With Marner, though, the biggest thing is replacing him is near impossible. You're not going to go out and get someone that can play on your top penalty killing unit, someone that can put up 100 points, even though it's only one season, but close on 100 points most years. This guy's going to be hard to replace, but with the media having a hatred towards him, with the fans having him on his way out, I don't see a situation where Mitch can come back and all sides be happy with the cap hit, with what he's going to do, productive on the ice. I think a fresh start for both sides is what needs to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think in a place with less pressure, even though the Leafs were saying, hey, look, there's pressure everywhere, I think it might be better for him. Because, again, there's reports coming out about how he can barely walk around town in peace without fans yelling at him. And, you don't envy the guy like that. But at the same time, it's like, listen, I don't blame him for having fans be upset at him and him maybe not wanting that, but also he didn't show up. So there's two things there. But like Auston Matthews also spoke on this. He said, look, he has the right to make his own decision, but obviously we all love him very much. And even Craig Berube came out and said, I think I have that as well here. Yeah, Craig Berube said, I love the guy, love coaching him, love his energy, personality. He's a hell of a player. He does a lot for this team, night in, night out, in a lot of different areas of the game. I got nothing but good things to say about him. So you're seeing this kind of contrast as well. Like Matthews, we love him. Berube, love the guy. Great, unbelievable things. Mitch Marner, I've loved it here, but I got to think about it, you know? So I don't know. I feel like there's this stark contrast there, which makes it more clear than ever he's gone. But Mark, not only just that, again, it's the contract, right? You're absolutely right that finding a star offensive player who can produce you 100 points in the regular season while playing on your top penalty killing unit, while leading your team even above defensemen in I think a lot of games, and at one point, if not for the whole series, average time on ice, right? Like this dude, there's nights where he was playing 25, 26 minutes as a forward because of his great defensive play along with his offensive play. But the fact that this Scotia stat projection has him at 7 years, 12.2 million, again, assuming he'll be a free agent going somewhere else, you could do like a little sign and trade thing to get the eighth. I don't know if that's going to happen, but 7 years, 12.2, like if you're Toronto, Mark, like that's kind of worth it in a vacuum for 100 points penalty killing player. But again, to me, not easy to replace, but at that price, based on what he said, how he's reacted, we see this same clip over and over again, just not locked in. I don't know. There's more reasons than ever to believe that he is gone. I see him on your shelf there. Might be time to take him off.
And I mean, listen, the big thing is we've seen the Florida Panthers go out, and I don't want to talk about the Panthers too much, but they went in for a President's Trophy run. They got the President's Trophy. They lost in the playoffs. What did they do? They moved out Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar to bring in Matthew Tkachuk, a culture change, getting new bodies in, getting a fresh start. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again. And that's what Leafs have been doing for the past, 8, 9 goddamn years?
Yeah.
This is the time that you need to switch things up. You go out, you get a fresh start. You might not be able to replace Marner with a Marner style or caliber player, but you can get more players that are going to come in, change the locker room, change the culture of this team, something that the Leafs have been desperately needing to do with that core four era.
Absolutely. And look, you still have talent, right? Matthew Knies will be back. You have to imagine they'll do anything they can to keep him around. William Nylander is still a top level producer in the NHL. Auston Matthews, on any given night, is the best goal scorer in the world. And you have that opportunity now to use that money from Marner and whatever Tavares pay cut will be. Maybe it's like a $5 million pay cut. So you'll end up with like $15-16 million between Marner and Tavares to fill some of these spots. Maybe you bring Pacioretty back on a year deal. Maybe we'll talk about that in another video. But like right now, it's just, it's been an utter collapse. And right now, seeing what Marner is saying and hearing I don't know, Mark, I don't know if I'm going crazy, but hearing Tavares, yeah, I really want to be back. Players I love playing here. Berube, yeah, we'll learn from this game 7. Part of me wants to believe it. The other part of me is, yeah, I'm not going to believe a thing until I see it,
That's the biggest thing. I think with everyone coming out, people are going to their media train. They know what to say in the situation. But with Marner coming out, that felt like it came from the heart, being like, I loved it here. He isn't sure on his future. He doesn't want to make Leafs fans think that he's going to come back when he's not. I think he came out very set on saying, I loved it here. I need to figure out things. He just had a child. This offseason is going to be hectic for him. But like I said, I think at the end of this day, we're going to see a breakup between him and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Mitch is going to have a great career. He's probably going to win a cup with another team just to show the Leafs that, hi, you guys let me walk for nothing. But the biggest thing at the end of the day, a change needs to come.
Yep, and hey, I think if he comes back, things might go even more nuclear. But hey, let us know your thoughts. I know there's some positive, but a lot of negative. And I can't wait to read what the comments have to say. Because listen, that'll do it for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We got a lot more news coming just like this. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Mark Pye. We'll catch you in the next one.